So just as expected today, we're getting a little bit of a breakdown on the Bitcoin chart. Um, we can see we've been chopping around at this, overbought level on the RSI. You can see the RSI setting these red resistance bars across when we first came overbought right around here around 120K. You can see we tested it once, twice, three times, four times, and we could not. We just kept pushing up on this 4 hour overbought resistance. We know we had a trend line 1, 2. We were extending that out. We kind of came down, hit it as support here, kind of tried to hold on to support right here, but ultimately we reached a decision time and we were either going to break up above this resistance or down below this trend line, which we clearly did in one solid 4 hour candle. So that is the move I've been anticipating. I don't think we're fully there yet in terms of how far this price can come down lower. I think the pullback is still in play. So we're going to open up the RSI. We can see the 4 hour RSI over here starting to get a little bit oversold. So we may see a bit of a bounce back up into the 17K level, but ultimately I do see that as big resistance, and ultimately I do think we're gonna want to come back down and test 110. So right now we're flirting with the 115 level. I think the Bears have made a pretty significant statement here, breaking the trend line, and further downside to be expected on these lower time frames. Let's see the daily. So there you go. I think right here, this 110 mark, guys, is so critical. The RSI was very overbought, and since then the price has been moving sideways. Another indicator that we were probably going to have this dump was that the price was moving sideways, but we see in the RSI that there was actually more selling coming in than buyers, right? You can see some RSI divergence right here. You can see the RSI was trending down, but the price was kind of, trending up, if not moving sideways. So that's a clear sign that there is some selling pressure coming in. The RSI gives it away, right? This is the percentage of buyers to sellers. So when it's overbought, you want to start selling. And then when it's oversold, you want to start buying. So right now, it's a very small move right now on the downside that's really getting us oversold. I think, right now we're at this 35% mark on the, daily RSI. I think we're going to want to come down into oversold, similar to what we saw right here and right here. So these will be good buying opportunities once we do come into oversold. I think on the daily, I think that'll be a really good opportunity to buy the next push up higher into new extension levels. But just a quick update, I wanted to show you what I'm looking at here for Bitcoin. I think there is a little bit more downside, as we know as well. If we zoom back into the 1 hour time frame, you can see the 1 hour time frame did get pretty oversold. We got into this blue territory and the RSI popped up, held on to that 50% control for the bears and pushed us back down. So now we're looking for very similar sort of divergence here on the 1 hour. We're looking for the RSI to show signs of buying as the price is coming down. That kind of indicates, panic selling. Um, you know, Meanwhile, smart money sort of accumulating, and we're starting to see that already. So I think on the lower time frames, this push has happened down. And again, look at this beautiful RSI indicator showing us the basis of support, the green line that started to send across here when we first came oversold. This held as a pretty big level of support throughout this sideways chop. And you can see the red lines showing pretty big resistance. We came in overbought right here, and we try to come up into it down. So we've sort of just been trading within a channel between these two overbought and oversold levels. And since we broke down, now we're getting some new flashing green oversold levels. So that's nice on the 1 hour. I think perhaps we might get a push up and then down. So um, let's see how this starts to play out. But so far, this price action is looking very bearish. And it makes sense to see some profit taking on a Friday going into a weekend here. So totally normal price action. I don't want you guys to panic or anything like that. Um, it's just traders need to make money too, right? Not just long-term holders. So this is why we have, ups and downs in this market. But we do know, guys, that when you pull in the volume profile, that we're kind of hanging on by a thread here to some of this data from the top. Since we pushed up into 20K, we can see the volume profile. really showing us the point of control right here at about 117.5. And you can see we're really starting to explore these lower levels of the volume profile. But ultimately, if we cannot hold on to this, look at this. It's just a cliff drop right down into 110 or 111 or so. But I think ultimately 110 is going to be the psych level that the market's looking for as a retest. We can see some overbought levels right here that kind of we just blew through. Usually when we have some overbought signals and we blow through, we do want to come back down and test these levels down here. So I would not be surprised, guys, if we see a continuation of this bear market on the lower time frames, right? Until we get into that, until we get into the daily oversold level on the RSI. I think that this can trend downwards towards 100K. So another 5 to 10% drop, I think, before we can really start to look at a really big level of support. Um, what else am I spotting here today? There's not a whole lot else going on, other than some of these indicators. Let me see. The 15-minute chart looking pretty bearish as well. So there's a very, very clear indicator of when that trend line broke, and then just the 15-minute chart just absolutely puked. Just stop losses being taken and that kind of thing. But now, 15 minutes oversold, pushed us up into a little bit of a 15-minute overbought. You can see that right here. So this 15-minute chart will start to, I think, move sideways and hold on to this level for now and push back up into the point of control, at which point I do think we will roll over. And then, towards the end of July, I know we're at July 25th. July, in August, I think might be a little bit slow. And then as we get into Q3, I think we'll pick back up and we'll be up here at these 120 mark levels and perhaps break above it into new all-time highs. But for now, I think, the FOMO and the euphoria in the market was a little bit too high, a lot of greed in the market, and now they're getting a little bit of a reality check for Bitcoin, pulling back a little bit into the 115 level. All right, so I do think a little bit more downside. I'm targeting right here around 110K at around, August or so. Let me see just visually how that would probably shape out. Yeah, towards the end of July, I think we'll probably, end up towards 110K. So let's see how that monthly close would shape up. So now we zoomed out on the monthly, looking at Bitcoin. Ultimately, for July, let's see. We are looking like we are still, there's the little trend line. So we really need to hold on to, 106 where this month opened up. If this starts to come back down into here, it's going to look really, really ugly, especially if it's a doji candle. So the monthly is really, really interesting to keep tabs on. Let's see this quarterly chart. As we know, we just finished Q2 as well. So here's Q2, how that looked. Q3, I think ultimately may want to come back up. This is the first month of the quarter. So I do think that Q3 will probably still make new all-time highs. So we've got 2 months or so to play around at these levels. But I do think ultimately this quarterly chart, right? Look at it, but it's extremely overbought. This is very alarming right here, on the quarterly chart as well. But yeah, the trend is still intact. We got to just be watching this very closely because we know that this can turn around on a dime. Back onto the daily, this 115K level is huge, huge support. We cannot let this, if you're a bull, we cannot let this volume profile break below this level. So bulls are trying to defend it. Ultimately, I think we might get a little bit of a push and we consolidate back up here. But I think ultimately this daily chart will start to look very bearish, and we will see a lot of stop losses, a lot of high margin, traders getting liquidated, and just the usual sort of ebbs and flows that we see in this Bitcoin market. Now, I think there's a trend line here as well that we really, really need to hold on for Bitcoin. 1, 2, we can extend this out, right? So look at this very, very critical sort of trend line that we're coming into as well. I think we need to pop back up, over the weekend, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and then I think Wednesday, maybe we break down again back into, 110K. So look out for that next week, guys. I'll be here providing updates, as we progress through the week and through the month. I'll be providing daily updates, so you're going to want to stick around for that. But that's going to do it for today's video. I want to thank you all for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.